With the release of Spider-Man 2 coming out pretty soon, I decided to play Spider-Man Remastered for the first time. I just finished The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm like, I need something to cheer me up. So I looked at the game and I asked myself, is Spider-Man Remastered the perfect break from all those heavy, depressing, soul-sucking video games? Not saying I don't love those as well, but sometimes you just need a break. And let me tell you, I needed that break. Spider-Man the Remaster came out in 2022 actually. It's all about the worlds of Peter Parker and Spider-Man colliding in an original action-packed story. You play as an experienced Peter Parker, fighting big crime and iconic villains in the Marvel's version of New York. And let me tell you guys, this game is extremely beautiful. According to New Yorkers, the game actually matches the city quite a bit. I do a lot of virtual photography. I was able to grab loads of great screen grabs of this game. Follow me on Instagram to see more. With the city being so lively and vibrant, it makes the immersion level that much more interesting and intriguing. You could walk around and people will be like, oh, Spider-Man, we love you. And you can like give them high fives and then dip on them real quick and start web swinging in the air. And honestly, the web swinging and the parkour was probably the most fun thing you could even do in the game. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something so satisfying and exhilarating about zipping through the New York City skyline. As you swing around, you'll encounter numerous crimes happening throughout the city. They had thug crimes, demon crimes, prison inmate crimes, and sable crimes. They would all be attempting different criminal acts, and you can go and break it up and stop the bad guys. You would also have to take over buildings that bad guys infiltrate. The combat was extremely fun and fast-paced. You can hit them with numerous combos. Then they supply you with multiple gadgets to help you take enemies down. I was always on that web shooter, especially when you get surrounded. It really helped slow the enemies down. People in the street would ask Spider-Man to help find their friends, and you have to go find and collect various clues to track them down. The time trials were just challenging enough. Have you guys ever played a game and you don't really beat it, but you know it's doable, so you just keep trying over and over because you know it can be done? Yeah, that happened a lot to me while playing the time trials. Some of the time trials and building takedowns had a lot of creative twists in them as well. Like, oh, kill the bad guy without touching the ground. There were also a lot of collectibles like backpacks that Peter would hide around the city. And it was always really interesting to see what he placed in there from years ago and hear the backstory on these items.
Aunt May's recipe for wheat cakes. I could never make it work on my own.
If you don't know, Peter Parker is a photographer, so they added an aspect into the game where you could take out his camera and take pictures of various landmarks. I think it was a very creative way of showing off some of the game art, while people aim to achieve 100% completion of the game.
Got it.
And I'm barely even scratching the surface of all the extra content that Spider-Man Remastered had to offer. But if you don't get my point by now, what I'm telling you is that there's always something to do in this game. There's a lot of stuff to do. For a Spider-Man game, I was pleasantly surprised of how much I actually enjoyed the story. Previous titles needed a bit of work, but we all know that Sony had been really stepping up their game on the story front. The whole thing with the Devil's Breath and people being infected with it, including Aunt May, and them trying to find a cure but they were too late, that probably was the most depressing part in the whole game. Aunt May and her emotional death scene.
The cure right here.
Take off your mask. I want to see my nephew.
You knew?
I've known for a while.
I never wanted you to worry.
I did. And I am so proud of you.
Like, no, don't leave me, Aunt May. And I heard that they weren't going to like originally kill her off in the game, but they decided to anyway. There might be a clip of that somewhere around the internet, or am I just making that up? I don't know. Let me know if you guys heard that. One aspect I love about both Spider-Man games, including Spider-Man Miles Morales, is that the stories really teach people a lesson that everyone might not be exactly who they say they are. Like Lee and Dr. Octavius. Not everyone is your friend, and even Peter Parker with most people. But even though the game did have some emotional and surprising parts, the one thing I didn't like about the story is how it felt a bit predictable, with Martin Lee and especially Dr. Octavius turning bad and going against Peter Parker or Spider-Man, it all just seemed a little bit too convenient. But I do have to admit, it makes the game feel a bit more lighthearted, knowing what's coming so they can't throw you off, and easier to play. They threw a lot of villains at us, like Kingpin, Electro, Rhino, Scorpion, Shocker, and more. But I got through them all, and it was a very good ending. Peter Parker chose to save thousands of New Yorkers over Aunt May. Which is what she wanted him to do anyways. But if it was the other way around, she probably would have died anyways too. Peter and MJ was beefing throughout this whole game, but at the end, he got his girl back, and he got a new spider brother. I love the parts where it almost seemed like Peter was being a big brother to Miles, especially after his dad passed away. But what I didn't like was playing as Miles or even MJ. For me, it seemed a bit slow, but when we're just sneaking around, it dragged. I found myself constantly thinking, okay, when is this scene gonna be over? But I am definitely excited to see what they're gonna do with both of them in Spider-Man 2 releasing in a few weeks. And make sure to subscribe because I'll be posting a video on that very soon. But overall, as the story went on, the missions did seem to get a bit repetitive. Also, fun fact, I didn't know this at first, but a lot of people were really mad because they changed the face model from this original guy to someone who looked more like Tom Holland. Honestly, I like the last guy's face more. But I guess I could see why they might want to keep it consistent with the movies.
I heard you by the bridge. I know what a girl sound like.
I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. I mean, I'm a man.
I don't care what you are, boy, girl.
I'm not a girl, I'm a man.
If you don't know, Spider-Man Remastered is one of the easiest games to platinum on PlayStation. So that's what I did. It wasn't difficult, but it was tedious. But if you're willing to put in the time, and you have never completed a platinum trophy, this will be an easy one. So to answer my own question, despite some criticism I had, Spider-Man Remastered is a very fun and lighthearted game. It's a great break from all the heavy topics that's brought up in video games today. Have you played Spider-Man Remastered? If so, how did you like it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Pause for now, play forever, AK out.